Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Talking Marijuana. We are here in studio at the John Lovitz Comedy Club at the Universal Studios
City Walk.
City Walk. I keep looking to my co-host for confirmation about where we are.
It's early.
That's where we're coming at. We do record this early in the morning for you guys. But we are your hosts, Barry, Don, and Yami. I'm Barry Kramer. I am the patient operator of California Patients Alliance, a fully accredited, GLACA accredited, and Prop D compliant dispensary here in the city of Los Angeles. And my co-hosts.
I'm Yami Bolaños, and I'm the patient operator for Pure Life Alternative Wellness Center, a fully accredited D-compliant dispensary in the city of Los Angeles. I'm also the president and founder of the Greater Los Angeles Collectives Alliance, the sign of excellence in medical marijuana in the city of Los Angeles since 2006. And with us is Don.
Hello, good morning. I'm Don Duncan, the California Director of Americans for Safe Access.
You might know him as a microphone on our table for most weeks. He's in Sacramento and usually a roving reporter. It's nice to have you here in studio today.
Nice to be here.
And our wonderful guest today, Sarah Lovering.
Hey, guys.
How are you?
Hi.
And she is from MPP, the Marijuana Policy Project, and we are going to get into a lot of stuff that you guys are doing, a great organization. You're out there doing really super stuff for legalization of marijuana, and we are going to dive into that in a later segment. That's a tease for those of you out there. And Sarah is a tease, so there we go.
Join us today.
Welcome.
Woman power in Los Angeles.
Heck yeah.
So let's hit some of the headlines.
What's going on in the world, Barry?
Well, here's what's going on in the world. The DEA, we love the DEA.
Our favorite people.
Once again, sticking their nose where it doesn't belong. They, in Oregon, are in an ongoing, I believe it's a suit, to try, they think that medical records should not be private, that they should have access to all medical records, not just medical marijuana users, which is their ultimate motive, but all medical records should be available to the DEA. There is a program in Oregon called the Oregon Prescription Drug Monitoring Program, and it's a database. And the DEA wants to plug in. They want to up their ability to their authorization to do.
Now, I thought prescriptions were already drug monitoring programs, right?
Yeah, really. I mean, you do have to sign and all that kind of stuff, but they don't want you to know your information. And the ACLU has been arguing in a brief that they filed last week that the third-party doctrine, which is what the DEA is expanding now, it's a legal term, then they're expanding that to get your medical records. Third-party doctrine means that, you've given your information to an organization, not the government, but another organization, the AT&T, or in this case it would be your doctor or something, and they're saying that by that you've given up your privacy and they can come in and do it. Now this is a huge expansion of that because medical records we know are totally illegal for the government to come in and look at your medical records. They include, your name, your address, your date of birth, the pharmacy, the prescriber information, and specific prescription information, including the drug names and dosage and when it was prescribed. It's just stuff that the government doesn't have right to get into.
There's a way to get this already. You can get a court order, a subpoena, search warrant. It's not like they can't get it if they need it. If somebody's running out an OxyContin ring, then sure, you can go and get through the courts and you can get
right. And speaking of OxyContin rings. One of the other news items that came up this week was I don't think I'm going to have access to it here, but my recollection is
the lawyer in Florida, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lawyer. He's a personal injury lawyer. His name is Frank Morgan.
John Morgan.
John Morgan. You're awesome. So John Morgan, sorry, John, about calling you Frank. He spoke to an organization in Florida, and he is the major backer of medical marijuana initiative in Florida for 2014. He's put up about half of the $300,000 that initially was put up to start that campaign. And so he was speaking in front of an organization, and he was telling them that the prescription medicine that they use is way more dangerous and harmful and abused than marijuana, and that marijuana is relatively calm and
Benign.
non-toxic
Benign.
compared. And he was using OxyContin as an example and saying that in Florida in the previous year there was 1,600 deaths, and that's not even including all the abuse of the drug itself.
Oh, wow.
And marijuana, zero.
Still holding at 0.
Yeah,
Still holding at 0. So he was extolling that to the civic leaders of this city in Florida.
The Tiger Bay Club, apparently.
And the
Right.
Tiger Bay Club. And he was approached afterwards by many people interested in what he had to say. And as we say here on Talking Marijuana a lot, it's about education.
It is
People
about
just
education.
don't know. And until you can give them some facts and show them that, this is the situation as it exists. Marijuana is harmless compared to the toxic medicines that you're taking in your body and all the side effects that they have. Until we educate people, they don't know.
This guy's a personal injury lawyer, so his clients are going to need medicine.
Right.
These people are hurt.
And I do believe he's looking for clients at the moment, as most personal injury
He was, he
lawyers.
was late to
But the
that
important
speaking
thing is
engagement.
that when there is a conversation like this in Middle America or in normal situations, that people are interested because it doesn't have side effects. And if you're older and you're taking all kinds of medications, you hear something like, "Oh, this won't give you a side effect to all the other side effects that you're getting because you're taking all these." It's important that we have these conversations and that people get educated because it is about education.
It is. So whenever you have the opportunity to explain to a friend or a group of people that you're what the benefits of marijuana are, take that opportunity seriously because it really makes a difference. Even if you just reach one person that goes, "Oh my God, I never knew that before," or understood it in that way, that passes on, and it really makes a difference. And it is a lot of the paradigm of marijuana is stoner mentality.
Oh,
That
yeah.
is how much of America still thinks of it.
And sadly,
and-
Florida has a lot of horror stories that come out of
Horror
that
stories.
state. A lot of them having to do with the enforcement of our nation's drug laws, our marijuana laws. But yeah, given the senior citizen population there, it would be so nice if they had a safer alternative to a lot of the drugs I'm sure they're currently using.
Absolutely. And we hope that Florida will come on board as another medical marijuana state.
Yeah. Kudos to John Morgan for spearheading that.
Absolutely. Kudos out to him. Another kudo person that we've kudoed in the past is Robert
We all
Corey.
think kudo.
Robert Corey, another lawyer. He's in Colorado, and he was a key proponent in passing Colorado's legalization. And he got busted about a week ago. Busted in Colorado for smoking marijuana. He went to a
Sports game, right?
game, and he did try to kind of go to a quiet area somewhere and smoke. But as he should know, the law in Colorado is that you can't smoke in
Right.
public.
Yeah.
So he's
Although,
got all
how many
these great.
people have smoked at the stadium, right?
No, absolutely.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
not only how many people have smoked at the stadium, but up above him while he was being arrested for smoking discreetly in the stadium, there was about 30,000 fans that were getting sloshed
Yes,
and
drinking,
drunk with their
yes.
Very
kids.
true.
Yeah, watching them.
And
Very true.
that doesn't ever kind of come into
Yeah, but
play.
he should know better. I mean, it's interesting. I think that he should have known better. I think that there's situations where you back off and you don't.
Well,
make
I
too
would
many
chalk it up
waves.
to this. I would say that Colorado had great success recently. They're riding, pardon the pun, they're riding high on their successes, and I think he felt a little. There was a little pomposity in that.
Well,
he-
many cannabis smokers, though, take the illicit puff from time to time in the car, on their lunch break. It happens.
It was.
Right.
I thought that, but it was how he spoke to the officers that
Yeah.
sort of made it a little bit more of a pompous
Yeah.
effort. And where he said, he basically told the officer, "I bet I'm a big trophy for you," according to the report. And then when the officer said he didn't know who he was, and Corey explained, the officer responded that Corey should have known it remains illegal in Colorado
Yeah,
to consume
so-
marijuana, and then they took him away. And I'm sure he's out, and it was a minor thing. And probably good press for him and to be able to bring you know, more attention to the situation. It is ridiculous.
He'll have
that,
an anecdote to share with his clients now. It's like,
yeah,
here's what you don't
and
do.
it is ridiculous that he can't smoke while everyone's getting absolutely brain damaged up above them with whatever they would like to be drinking and however much they would like to be drinking. So, kind of an odd story. I hope that he is humbled a little bit by it because I do think that he's done some really great work. And it's always the messengers that somehow carry the tone of the work. And when you're the messenger, you have to be a little more careful and a little more restrained.
Well, yeah, because anything you do reflects on what you did.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And if he's giving advice to his clients to behave in a certain way, you know, you kind of hope that he would follow his own advice.
And again, here we go to another smooth transition. Anything you do reflects on what you did. We had a great mayor down in San Diego. What a great guy. He came in. Oh, he was an awesome guy. He came in and he said, you know what? Enough with this marijuana debate. We're going to put it all on hold. We'll leave the dispensaries open and we'll continue to try and make an ordinance in San Diego. And then, of course, he walked off the mic and grabbed some lady's ass and, and probably fondled another woman's breasts. And so, there were a lot of allegations.
12 people with their smoke, there's fire.
So obviously we're talking about
if he did that, it's a bad thing to do. But, you know, we have to also remember the whole Elliot Spitzer scenario here where a high-profile, progressive or liberal politician really becomes a target. And so he probably did behave badly. I don't doubt that, but how many politicians have done that too?
The problem with Filner for me was not that he behaved badly, but that he just, you know, he thought 2 weeks in a rehab was going to take care of this, and that he didn't seem to take it very seriously.
He wasn't that sorry.
And so for what happened with our community is he went down in flames, we all know, in flames. And of course, there's a huge backlash against anything that he touched while he was in office because he was so creepy.
It's a tarnished legacy.
Tarnished legacy. And so now the new mayor in San Diego is closing down marijuana dispensaries.
Which is frustrating because the new mayor used to be very supportive on this issue. We could always count on his vote when this came into city council. But now apparently there's, I guess, something to live down.
Yeah.
Well, didn't he say he wants to close everything down and start brand new?
Right.
Which sounds actually constructive.
Unless you're one of those people.
Unless you're like Yami or I that have been operating for 6 or 7 years.
How long does it take to start new, right? Like in Washington, D.C., it's taken them years to get to the point where they're actually serving patients.
Right.
Well, once they get you closed, it's harder
to get open.
To reopen. So we hope that the fight down there in San Diego doesn't
back
get
on the docket.
Really
it's not
ugly.
necessarily over. This past week, in fact, I think tomorrow, medical marijuana regulations are back on the docket for discussion items. So no vote.
I think they want to talk about doing regulations in January.
Right.
So I mean, at least it's a positive thing. You know, it's not like it's never going to happen again.
January is a great starting point for it seems like every lawsuit
that is
that
why
we're
they have
involved
New Year's in January because it's the start.
To me, it's like a cop-out to put everything on hold for 4 months and then start again in January.
It is a cop-out.
It's like a bunch of people
We've
that are
experienced here
gosh.
in Los Angeles with our city council. You know, come November 10th, you know, they're into Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays, and they're not really doing the people's work. It doesn't feel like, or they're rushing it through. So.
It's really cool. Politicians have lots of vacation time, lots of time off.
Well, especially now the government's closed. So.
Well, yeah, there's no government today. How interesting.
Right.
Yes. Oh my goodness. That's a whole other topic. We were talking about that before the show. We're gonna maybe take a little break here and come back with another story or two, and then get into a little bit of what's going on legislatively around the country. And we'll see you on the other side of the break.
All right.
Thanks for tuning in.
Upcoming shows to the John Lovitz Vodcast Network.
Welcome to FYI. It's Dimitri Young here with Robert Fick. Hey everybody, welcome to Talking Marijuana.
Hi everybody, Crabman's Rock and Roll Revival featuring Frazier Smith is on the air, in your hair, and going out everywhere around the world.
I'm Gary Garver, live from the John Lovitz Comedy Club.
This is the John Lovitz Podcast Network. Hi, John Lovitz here. It's time to put laughter back into your life. Check out the John Lovitz Comedy Club, located in the heart of Universal Studios City Walk, Los Angeles, not Orlando. For tickets, go to thejohnlovitzcomedyclub.com.
You are listening to the John Lovitz Vodcast Network.
Hey there, welcome back. We're discussing the week's news and things that have popped up in the news item or grown in the news item. Sprouted. One of the great things this week was about some growers that maybe some of you know out there. They were featured on a documentary series called American Weed, and they're brothers, a big family. They're called the Stanley Brothers because their last name is Stanley.
Well, that's convenient.
Kind of interesting, really nice. And the reason I was sort of drawn to them this week, other than seeing this article about them, is because I've seen them a bunch. You know, I saw the American Weed, and in that they talked a lot about growing and what they were growing, and they also were advocating quite strongly. One of the brothers was really leading his area of Colorado, trying to organize, going to state legislature, much like you do, Don, to really push the agenda and make sure that people understood what the cost of what they were legislating would be in human terms. And in that time, in the documentary, the Stanleys got involved with a mother who had a young child who was looking for a high CBD strain. We've talked about high CBD strains here on the show before, but just to go over for those that might not know, there are many cannabinoids in the marijuana plant. THC, the most famous and friendly of them all for most people. That is the psychoactive element, and the
Gets you high.
Gets you high. CBDs gets you well. CBDs work medically in your body. They work medicinally in your body. They are very strong that way. And for many years were bred out of marijuana. Most strains of marijuana contain maybe 0.5 to 0.9% of CBDs, whereas the new strains that are being developed and we're getting back high CBD strains are coming in the 10% to 15% range CBDs. And CBDs work in tandem with the other cannabinoids, THC being one of them. So you never want to strip away all the other cannabinoids and just grab this one. But you want to have a very high content of the CBD.
Which I guess is what these guys are up to, right?
Which is what they do. And so since they've been on that, there's 6 brothers. They're a very religious family, so the article says. They just really are about doing good. This is what their purpose in life is, and they don't want to be considered stoners, and we want to break that mentality.
They've experienced the culture in Colorado. They've had dispensaries, they've been closed down, they fought city ordinances. I mean, they have really experienced what the movement is in Colorado.
And in finding this mother with the child who really needed a high CBD concentrate, they think they found their calling. And so their grow operation, which is very large in Colorado, about 75% of it is high CBD strains that most potheads would not really be looking for. The people that are looking for that are medicinal patients who really need the benefit of this incredible plant to help their quality of life, which is how we always describe this medicine as a quality of life medicine.
Yeah, and that's like epileptics and cancer patients, right?
Those epileptics, cancer
folks looking
patients.
for that.
Anti-inflammatory properties for CBD.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Good stuff,
Okay.
But we have to remember it's all about the synergy. We don't want to breed out the THC.
Right, absolutely. And they, and again, 25% of their crop is not high CBD, it's probably high THC. But the fact that they're really moving toward that, and I think that a lot of this industry is going to start to move toward that until we get a nice balance. I think legalization is going to kind of lift the recreational side of things up much more. But I'm glad before we get the tidal wave of legalization, which I'm very much looking forward to, that we do get this great information about CBDs and how we can move forward the medical end. A lot of people always ask me, hey, if they legalize marijuana in California, aren't you like out of business? And you know what? I'm like, no, I mean, patients still need medicine.
Exactly.
And they need to know that they're not getting it from the, I sell everything store, that they're getting it from a store, a dispensary that really has focused on that and knows what
and
can
it's
help them
specific to their, whatever their ailment is.
And, in a place like the Netherlands, those two programs run side by side.
Yes.
You have your coffee shop program and your pharmacy program.
Absolutely.
They do fine together.
Yeah, they do.
So we wanted to give a big shout out to the Stanley brothers.
Yes.
It's a long journey for them, and I think they're really showing a great side of what can be done.
American weed.
American weed.
Yeah,
American
they're
weed.
a good family show, setting great examples of how you go ahead.
I always worry
and
about the reality
lead
shows.
I
It's
laughed a little bit, I
what's
have
the-
to say, when it was a reality show.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Or
like the guys.
exposure,
but-
like when people go on TV, they get their 15 minutes of fame, and
Yeah.
it's like, what's the downside of that?
Well, for these guys, for these brothers, there's been very little downside. I think it really helped them, but I think that's because their heart was in a good
Sure.
place, and they seem to be really
But
great
they
guys.
didn't do anything sensationalizing either on the show. I mean, when they were on the show, they just showed them what they were doing. There was no crazy stuff, to get your interest.
They
It was
were
just like
advocating,
nobody
they were
gets, like,
growing,
off
they
the
knew
island.
what they were talking about, they knew the strains they were looking for, LA
Exactly, yeah.
Confidential, because it's a heavy indica, and heavy indicas are great pain relief
Right.
medicines. The thing I really liked about this article, and I really hate about every single 100% of every other article, was the comment section. A really
crazies.
contentious thing these days, the
Right.
comment section on stuff. But I have a weird sense that I want to read a few on every article
Yes.
that I get.
I do too.
And I
I
quickly
do
get
too.
disappointed with
Yeah.
the ignorance of the people that are writing in. This comment section, there's like 23 comments on this article. Every single one, not one negative, Bush is the reason for all this or whatever, Every single comment was how wonderful these brothers are and
Nice.
how they have. And it seemed like many of the people that wrote in. It's a Colorado newspaper. It's the Gazette. It serves
Yes, so
Colorado
they're
Springs,
probably,
so it serves their area.
fans, Yeah.
They have a lot of fans out there in Colorado. Everyone that wrote in said, "Oh my God, these
Great.
guys have saved my child. They've saved this person. They've
Nice.
helped me so much."
It's good when people speak up like that, because
Oh,
I think that discourages the
the
people who just want to stir
naysayers in the
controversy.
comments.
Yeah.
But it really was an unusual comment section. I've never seen every comment be positive, and such a
Nice.
great outpouring for these brothers. So
Great
again,
credit
just
to them, because they always have something bad to say. Somebody always comes up with
everyone,
something
yeah.
bad, and to have a comment section that's all positive, that says a lot for
so
them.
that's our little shout out to the Stanley brothers.
Yes.
Hope you have a good day out there in
Yeah.
Colorado.
Happy growing.
Happy growing, pleasant growing, and maybe let's turn to legislature and what's going
Well,
on
in
around.
California,
Well, we had a big development.
Yes.
Governor Jerry Brown signed the hemp bill, Mark
Yes.
Leno's hemp bill 566. Am I confusing the numbers?
You might be. You have a lot of numbers to.
Nonetheless, Mark Leno's hemp bill has been signed by the governor. It's the law in California now, and some people aren't happy with it. I'm happy.
well, I know, because you're always happy. You're a very positive guy. You always look for the silver lining. We're having this discussion now because first of all, it was a very little known fact that
It was
Jerry
quiet. It
Brown
was very quiet,
signed the bill. The other thing is that we have had backlash. I read a letter yesterday from an advocate in our community calling it a useless piece of legislation.
You said that? Or you
No,
said
not
that?
me. No.
I understand what he means, but I disagree, and I'll tell you why. Well, first of all, this bill passed one of the houses unanimously, which means Republicans voted for something pro-cannabis, which is awesome. And that doesn't happen very much in California, so that's great.
Pro hemp.
This bill, provided there's a change in federal law, will actually take effect. But even if we don't see that soon, or we don't see it ever, this bill is still important because it's a symbolic victory for the cause of cannabis and for industrial hemp. And so the fact that the state legislature is doing this is important. And in politics, perceptions and symbols matter. So I think even if it doesn't result in a plant in the ground in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, that's okay. It's still a victory. And listen, we got to claim victories.
We
where
got to claim
We gotta
victories.
claim it
Right.
as we can, yeah.
There's a thinking I think sometimes people have around these legislative issues that we saw with the regulation bill this year in California. We were trying to adopt regulations for dispensing centers, and people sometimes think, well, if it's not perfect, I won't have it. I'm not having any part of it if it's not perfect, and that's just not how laws are made. You know,
No, not at all.
Like one
We
brick
were
at a
saying before,
time.
it's like
and-
making sausage, right? Like you really wouldn't want to see this. And
It's
that's
disturbing
because
how they're
legislation's imperfect in its nature. It's all about compromises and trade-offs and
Baby
can
steps.
we get? What can we get? And incremental steps. And that's really what people have to appreciate with the hemp bill is that even if plants aren't going in the ground in January, we still scored a victory.
Right.
So I'm happy with it.
It's a starting point.
I'm happy too, in the sense that, it's so hypocritical that this government, the federal government, forbids the growing of hemp in the United States, yet the federal government imports hemp paper, which Don told me this morning is not really hemp because it's already turned into paper, but it doesn't matter to me
It's made
because
of hemp.
it's
It
made
comes
of
from hemp.
Yes. And
Which we
even-
can't do here. That's the point.
Yeah,
we
no,
can't
but
make
even
that
the
paper
federal
here.
government imports hemp paper for, to do their National Archives stuff. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's so hypocritical. But so we should be happy about this hemp bill, even though it doesn't mean a damn thing.
It doesn't mean plants are going to be growing in soil in California next year, but it does mean something.
Well, let's say this. We passed Measure D here in Los Angeles, and that hasn't meant a damn thing either. So there's lots of legislation that passes that doesn't mean anything, but it is good to have it on the books.
Well,
that we
There's
want.
legislation implementation. This isn't exactly a situation where they're not implementing because they can't, because the bill says
Right.
federal law has to change.
Right.
But unlike the hemp bill, D hopefully will be implemented by December. So,
I'm going to knock on some wood and
yeah.
see if that
Other
that
states, though,
actually
might pick
happens.
this up, and
Yes,
that,
of
I
course.
remember in the early days. I'm saying the early days, and depending on how old you are, that seems silly or not. But in the early days, I'm thinking back in the early 1990s in cannabis activism, we always used to say that 30 states had pro-marijuana legislation on their books already, and that's because at some point over the years before the early 90s, 30 states had some sort of resolution or a sense of the House or whatever that they passed some sort of thing to Congress. None of which actually resulted in legal cannabis or medical cannabis, but all of which were stepping stones to where we are today. So I think a hemp bill is a good thing.
I'm glad to see some forward motion on a hemp bill, whether
know
symbolic
what,
or regular,
I-
because it's so ridiculous that hemp
And here's the
is
good news:
illegal.
Jerry Brown still cool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and we didn't get any pushback from law enforcement
No,
on this
they
bill in
stood
California.
aside.
Was the only thing that they didn't push back on.
Maybe
this
they
year,
didn't know.
yeah.
Maybe that's why it was so
was a
quiet,
secret,
so
so
that
they
could
wouldn't
get
know.
it through
Right.
even law enforcement. What a shame law enforcement is.
I know.
Is the
yeah.
huge.
Oh,
Yeah.
we're going to talk about that with Sarah too. So
Legislatively,
The next
anything else?
The
happening?
the hemp bill's the big story this week. Of course, the federal government's closed, so there's no news there.
So we're, yeah.
No,
All
we
quiet.
we did have the historic hearings in the Judiciary Committee in Congress.
And that was
that
those
was
are
great.
great.
We talked about that a bit last time, and then we expect new congressional hearings coming up very soon. So there's
They're going
all
to
the stuff-
Hopefully
up
not
on-
delayed by the shutdown.
Of course, they probably will be at this
Right.
point. Surely their shutdown won't be that long, right? How long
Right.
do they need to shut down to make a point?
I know.
The Republicans are making a point. They've made it.
But I don't
They got
think
the
anybody's. We've never had these Republicans there before. We've had warm-ups for them, like Michelle Bachmann and those like that. But Ted
Right.
Cruz, he's on a self-destruct
Yeah, it was
total mission.
1995
He'll do whatever it takes.
that this happened last time.
Right.
And it was a different world in '95 for sure.
And it was a partial shutdown then. And this is partial
Well,
right now, and it has the potential for going.
This
more.
is partial in that Congress still gets paid. They didn't pass the
yeah,
budget.
why
but
don't they stop
That's
paying
what I'm
those
saying,
fools?
like-
They're not even doing their job. I don't even know why
pay
they're
you
still
when you
getting
pass a
paid.
budget?
There's a reason
I
they
think
have
you
a
should get
10%
paid. If you're a politician,
popularity.
you should get paid after you get out of office, according to how well you did. I
that's
think that
nice.
should be a
An
rule.
honor system.
Yes, an honor system.
put it
Come
in a
on.
bonus
account
And
for
if
you
you
and you
do
can have
well,
it
then you
later.
get paid. And if you don't do well, you don't get paid.
Well, we have to pay the bills here, so we're going to take a little break, and we will come back, and we're going to
segue,
dive
Barry.
into. I'm doing them all. My brain is on overtime. We're going to come back and talk
fire.
with. We're going to come back and talk about MPP with Sarah Lovitz.
Great.
Yes, and what she's
Yeah.
up to.
Great.
And we'll see you on the other side.
This is the John Lovitz Vodcast Network.
Upcoming shows to the John Lovitz Vodcast Network.
Welcome to FYI. It's Dimitri Young here with Robert Fick. Hey, everybody, welcome to Talking Marijuana.
Hi, everybody. Crabman's Rock and Roll Revival featuring Frazier Smith is on the air, in your hair, and going out everywhere around the world.
I'm Gary Garver, live from the John Lovitz Comedy Club.
This is the John Lovitz Vodcast Network.
Hi, John Lovitz here. It's time to put laughter back into your life. Check out the John Lovitz Comedy Club, located in the heart of Universal Studios City Walk, Los Angeles, not Orlando. For tickets, go to thejohnlovitzcomedyclub.com.
You are listening to the John Lovitz Vodcast Network.
Hey, welcome back to Talking Marijuana. We have had a sneak in during the break.
That's right.
Welcome to you, Dan.
Hi.
Nice to have you here. This is Dan Gabriel, our man on the
Gabriel.
street and pot enthusiast.
Yes, and guy stuck in traffic for the last half hour. I thought for sure that the government shutdown would affect traffic a little bit. I thought, let's find some positive in this. Maybe a lot of people are going to stay home and ease up traffic.
Shelter in place.
Yeah, did not.
No one
yeah.
seems to know.
The
or
government
care.
didn't show up for work, but everybody else did.
Yeah, it's annoying.
Dan's a phenomenal comedian. We don't say that often enough on this
thanks, buddy.
show, but it's great to have you here, and it's super funny.
All right. Glad to be here. What are we
and,
talking about today?
Today,
Marijuana. Yeah.
Oh,
we're going
okay.
to talk
Marijuana.
marijuana.
Awesome. We haven't figured everything out yet?
Not yet. Every
All
week
right.
they keep throwing more marijuana.
Handfuls
have
of
to
it.
juggle
Hey, does
it,
the government
smoke a
shutdown
little.
mean that the DEA is no longer funded?
No, ironically, it does
That
not.
would be. I was kind of hoping.
They're essential.
They're considered an essential service.
we-
Law enforcement.
Yeah, we can't pay our armed forces, but
Right,
we
so apparently
can.
soldiers are not getting paid.
I know, I can't believe that they're not going to pay. How about if there's
But
no
let's pay the
overtake of the
DEA.
military? I mean, they could just overturn the government and say, you're not paying me? Then,
I don't think
you
they'll
know,
do that.
Well,
And
I just want to say
it's
the
only
views
been
expressed by
few
Yanni are
hours.
not necessarily those of the program.
So we have an
We're loyal
amazing
citizens.
guest today,
Yes.
and we would like to
Hello.
get into your doings and
My world.
machinations. Yeah. So
Nice.
Sarah Leverling from Marijuana Policy Project,
Yep.
MPP. You guys are doing lots of stuff. One of the big things that we saw you did recently was a television ad for NASCAR.
Yeah, outside of a NASCAR event.
It was awesome. It got a lot of publicity. It got people talking about stuff.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think it also helped to piggyback for the new campaign that's going on to try to get for the Super Bowl some sort
Well,
of
yeah,
commercial.
so we just ran another really fun billboard at the Mile High Stadium outside of a Broncos game. And it's basically challenging the NFL. You know, why are you punishing players for using marijuana, but not for alcohol, a much more dangerous drug?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the point of these is not necessarily to get the NFL to change their policy. That would be nice. But the bigger picture is, yeah, it's to get people talking about this and to really be thinking about, you know, the way our nation treats marijuana. And is it logical? Is it healthy? Is it safe?
Yeah, and a lot of those guys need marijuana to recover from the brutal injuries that they're sustaining every
Honestly,
day.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Honestly,
Yeah.
that is actually what we're hearing. Players are speaking out, and they're saying a lot of players do use this for pain control.
Yeah,
You know,
it's a much better alternative than the pills
Far
that
less
they're going to get
harmful to
addicted
their bodies.
opiates and stuff that they give them, yeah,
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
for pain relief.
And it's not like it helps them play football.
No.
It's not. I mean, I can understand you testing for something that gives you an edge over the other competitors. But this is not one of those things.
You know, that's curious because for a long time, you know, marijuana in the Olympics. That's what a lot of people argued. You know, I remember there was like a famous snowboarder who got busted because he had marijuana in his system during one of the Olympics, and he lost his gold medal. But actually, interestingly, there is some kind of news coming out lately that marijuana could potentially be a performance-enhancing drug. You know, it helps you breathe better. It's a bronchodilator.
It calms you down.
It calms
so
you
you're not
down.
so worried
I
about
don't
the
see that in a lot of my
competition.
friends, but
You
maybe.
have fun.
Right, and from a sport that has kind of a creative aspect to it, like snowboarding,
Yeah.
you know, for some people, marijuana does help them be a little bit more
I would support
creative.
an
And
exemption for snowboarders. I mean, come on, can you find a snowboarder who's not stoned?
exactly.
Yeah. Can you find somebody with the balls to do that without being
With that, right.
That is not something that sober people go, yeah, that's a good idea. I want to do this.
I'll project myself hundreds of feet into the air.
Yeah,
and
with a
flip
board
upside down.
strapped to my feet that my bones will break before it will.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
you need a joint to smoke before you do that, huh?
Yeah.
I knew a
Ouch.
trophy-winning race car driver that never raced without smoking a joint before he got in his car and went, as fast as he possibly
Wow.
could. And he was a winner. He
Must have been a
he
sativa.
excelled. Yeah.
Gave him focus, maybe.
High CBD, high STP content in that one. So that was. This is a great awareness
Yeah,
project that you guys.
So
have
what
out
is the
there.
billboard going to say exactly?
well, it actually already appeared. Off the top of my head, I don't know
Do
exactly
your
what it said,
billboards
but
get taken down?
they have. We put up a billboard outside of a beer and wine festival in Portland, Oregon, I believe.
Yeah, I remember that.
And
Yes.
it got a lot of press. And the day before the festival opened, and the billboard actually was encouraging people to consider the safer choice. So it showed a marijuana leaf on it, and it showed a glass of beer on
The
it.
safer choice at a beer.
Right outside of a big, I think it was a beer and
Beer
wine
festival.
festival. And the night after all of the TV coverage, the night before the festival began, it actually did get ripped down, which was kind of good in a way because it gave us all this earned media around that. We got to publicize
Somebody
the fact.
ripped it down.
Exactly.
I mean, if you pay for the advertising space, you should be able to put up there whatever you want. I mean,
Yeah.
within as long as it's not
It's
titties.
with NASCAR, right? You guys got a big media hit off
We got it, yeah.
NASCAR ad being pulled, basically.
Exactly. That's really the goal of these. We kind of go into it knowing there's a huge risk of that.
Yeah.
And if it gets pulled, there's even more
Yeah,
media
that's
traction we
next
can
up.
get out of that.
It's bringing awareness, and that's what's
It
important.
does
I
make
think.
them think,
Yeah.
though. Everybody who sees that billboard, no matter how far their head is
Oh,
up their ass,
absolutely.
they're gonna go,
It makes
maybe
sense,
that's.
yeah.
And it starts to
something
become part of
think
our
about.
national dialogue, which it's not when you don't have anything in your face.
Yeah,
about
bring
it.
Exactly.
your attention to it. Yeah.
Exactly. And if you saw some of the media coverage, the news stations went around and interviewed event attendees asking them what they thought of it. And it was really cool because a lot of folks that really looked like average Joes, they really expressed favorable views. They clearly weren't, stereotypical stoners. They were
Right.
just like, no, I think it's okay. People need to kind of hear the opposite viewpoint. I think that's good. And that's really what we want.
Information is cool.
And as we were talking about earlier,
Yeah.
the lawyer that was talking about OxyContin being so much more dangerous to your health, alcohol is so much more
Yeah.
dangerous for your body than marijuana is as a substance.
And from major events like that, we do hear tons of stories about horrible shenanigans that go on that are kind of alcohol fueled, fights, like the whole Dodgers
that was
fight that happened.
Horrible, yeah.
And so, I think we just kind of need to talk about this, that there is a safer alternative. It doesn't have to be this alcohol-fueled, shenanigan going on.
Right.
We do have a safer alternative.
We have a pretty smart listener base here at Talking Marijuana, but I really would like you to talk
they're both
about.
really bright.
Yeah, no, both of them. I've gotten the letters from the two of them.
They still appreciate what we're doing.
But it would be great if you would just give us a little rundown on what MPP, Marijuana Policy Project,
Excellent.
does.
Yeah.
What's your history and what you guys are doing.
Okay, yeah, so I'll start out by who we are, basically, for those of you who may not know. We were founded in 1995, and we're essentially a nonprofit lobbying organization. Our mission is to change bad marijuana laws. We believe that prohibition is more harmful than marijuana itself. So we aim to pass medical marijuana laws. We aim to make marijuana available for all adult use. And we also aim to kind of change some, societal viewpoints that have really been shaped by government lies, propaganda.
Yeah.
Backed up by Sanjay Gupta, who said we've been lied
Right.
to, but systematically misled by our government.
Oh, and I loved
For
his
a lot
apology.
of different reasons, for financial reasons, mainly, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But this organization fights hard to fight back against that perception.
Yeah, so we run state initiatives. We put lobbyists into different state houses, and then we do advertising, like you were just talking about. So earlier, Yami was asking me to talk about what we've done in Santa Monica. That's kind of been in the news in and out over this past year. Our work in Santa Monica actually goes back to 2006. We spearheaded a lowest law enforcement priority initiative in several cities around California. And it passed, I think, with 91% or something, really a really sweeping victory in Santa Monica. And then more recently, a group there, Santa Monicans for Safe Access, has been trying to get the city to re-examine their moratorium on medical marijuana dispensaries. And this, it's a big city, and they have no medical marijuana dispensaries because they have a moratorium. And this really grew out of one man's experience. He tried to set up a cannabis testing facility in Santa Monica, and he got shut down. And so he has really kind of been leading the effort, and MPP has really just been supporting him. He's been a rock star. Richard McDonald is his name. So earlier this year, MPP's Director of State Policies, Karen O'Keefe, who lives here in LA as well, actually, she spoke to the city council. She wrote a couple of letters to them. MPP has been sending out alerts to our constituents in this area, all for the purpose of just getting them to contact their city council members and begging them, please re-examine this moratorium. Patients in Santa Monica need safe access, and they need local access. They shouldn't have to be.
They shouldn't have to go to West LA
Right.
every time. But it's
Right.
not like they're doing any. You're just making them drive to the next city. You're
Exactly.
Not,
Stopping
Right, but it's
the
like
people
not
from
in my
using medicine.
backyard.
Right.
It's a NIMBY thing. It's like, okay, go to Culver
Well,
City.
Santa
which
Monica's been
won't
resistant to medical cannabis for many years now. So
Yep.
it's good to see progress there.
Yeah, so actually in August, they agreed to continue their moratorium, but to basically start putting regulations in place in December, I think it is.
They're going to re-examine it, yeah.
Yes.
Forward.
So they have at least said that in December they are going to start actually looking at putting regulations into place.
That's awesome. That's great news.
So MPP really just supported that effort. Richard McDonald and Bill Leahy were really the ones kind of pushing and on the ground, talking to patients, making it happen.
I think we're going to have Bill in here in a week or two,
Nice.
a couple of weeks, so we'll talk a little bit more about that, Santa Monica.
That effort.
I know that
Excellent.
there's an effort from MPP, and I was happy to see this, that you have a new sort of project going on, 10 states by 2016? Is
Yeah,
that correct?
2016, 2017. So MPP spearheaded the legalization campaign in Colorado last year. And
Congratulations.
Thank you, and
way to go.
Did a great
thank you,
job.
and it was really our supporters that made it happen. You know, they completely funded that effort. And yeah, we want to continue that trend and bring that success to at least 10 other states around the nation. So the next state that we're working on right now actually is Alaska. It'll be the only state that we work on in 2014.
Right.
2014 is not really an ideal year for a legalization initiative. It's a midterm election year, which means that we don't have as many young people coming out to vote, and young people are statistically more supportive of marijuana law reform. But Alaska's a smaller state population-wise, so it's cheaper. The polling there is good. So we're actually in the middle of the signature drive right now, and it'll appear on the ballot in November.
Awesome.
Assuming the signature drive is successful, which
So
we
really
believe it
lock
will
up
be.
the whole West Coast all the way up to Alaska.
Yeah.
Right, right. So, and then in
good.
2016, we're looking at California, of course.
Of course.
Arizona, Maine, Nevada. We're actually working on Nevada right now. In Nevada, you have to actually conduct the signature drive a full 24 months ahead of the election. Yeah.
Wow.
So we're getting into that right now.
Good.
And that's really exciting. Earlier this year, we helped the state pass a law allowing dispensaries for their medical patients.
Did that law have anything to do with the reciprocal nature of dispensaries in Nevada? Because I know they're the only state, as far as I know, maybe there might be one other state on board that allows medical recommendations from other states to be used in their state.
Oh, reciprocity, right. Well, yeah, and we don't have that here in California
No,
because
we
there
certainly
weren't
don't.
other medical states when
no
this
one
law was
else, yeah.
passed.
No
We
one thought of
didn't
that.
have the foresight, yeah. So, you know, I wasn't involved in the lobbying effort around that, so I don't actually know the details of that legislation. But yeah, you know, that whole fight, it got the people of Nevada talking about that.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what's really important. With this fight, you know, a lot of people, they see marijuana quite often in their lives, so it's kind of easy for some people to think that it's already legal, or, you know,
Well,
people
we
aren't
get that
really...
a lot
We
here
get
in
that a lot.
California.
Yeah.
The complacency
There's a
that
study
we've
from
been a legal state
UCLA
for.
that they did for juniors and seniors in high school. They asked them about legalization, and they were like, "What are you talking about? There's a dispensary in every corner. It's
I believe
legal."
it. I
You know,
believe
so
it.
they don't even think there's a problem.
Yeah.
You know,
Perception.
I talk to people regularly, I talked to a trucker from Georgia, who thought that marijuana was legal in his state.
Wow.
And I cautioned him very heavily, it's definitely not legal in your state. Please be careful. So yeah, a lot of our work is awareness and public outreach and getting people to realize not only is it not legal, your tax dollars are being flushed down the toilet, some people's lives are being really screwed up.
Yeah. It's all about information. I think the more that people hear about all the discrimination and all bad things that go on, the more awareness is spread, the better off we'll be. It is about information.
Exactly.
We're going to take our last short break here and get some information to our listeners about whoever is sponsoring this particular episode today. And we love you for it.
Yes, thank you.
And we'll come back and we'll talk some more with Sarah about MPP and...
Excellent.
And we'll have our dope of the week.
Exciting week for dope of the week.
All right, thanks, and we'll see you on the other side.
You are listening to the John Lovitz Vodcast Network.
Upcoming shows to the John Lovitz Vodcast Network.
Welcome to FY. It's Dimitri Young here with Robert Fick. Hey everybody, welcome to Talking Marijuana.
Hi everybody, Crabman's Rock and Roll Revival featuring Frazier Smith is on the air, in your hair, and going out everywhere around the world.
I'm Gary Garver, live from the John Lovitz Comedy Club.
This is the John Lovitz Vodcast Network.
Hi, John Lovitz here. It's time to put laughter back into your life. Check out the John Lovitz Comedy Club, located in the heart of Universal Studios City Walk, Los Angeles, not Orlando. For tickets, go to thejohnlovitzcomedyclub.com.
You are listening to the John Lovitz Vodcast Network.
Welcome back to Talking Marijuana. We are with Sarah Lovering of Marijuana Policy Project, MPP, and we're talking about your organization, what you do. I have to say I'm very excited to be sitting between you guys.
Nice.
Sarah's representing MPP, Don is representing Americans for Safe Access, and these are two, since I've been in an operator and opened my dispensary, I immediately looked for organizations that would help to guide me what I wanted to do. ASA is, there is a distinction between these two organizations, and the distinction is that ASA stays strictly with medical marijuana and advocates on behalf of medical marijuana patients, whereas MPP encompasses all marijuana. You're really a huge legalization organization, and we love you for that because both of these things concurrently are super important.
Oh, exactly.
And it's important to have focus, and so appreciate that ASA stays focused on medical patients. My patients appreciate it, and so appreciative for MPP that really does the great work in all the states of getting this information out and starting to get the ball rolling for legalization. So I just wanted to acknowledge that this is really an awesome panel right here.
The whole alphabet soup.
It is. It's, these are important people, and they are doing very important things. So support these organizations. Like Sarah was saying earlier, getting out, calling your congressman. These guys always ask you to do that.
Oh, yeah.
It's really important, and it takes 2 seconds, and their organizations make it super easy. A click of a button or a...
Right. And it matters.
Yeah,
Don't
and
give
It really
yourself
matters.
no, it matters.
Oh, yeah, your legislators so need to hear from you.
So you've grown over 96, you say, is when MPP
95.
started?
MPP was founded, so 2015 will be our 20th anniversary.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's... a lot has happened in that time, and I by no means am taking credit for MPP achieving all of that, but yeah, in 1995, there were no medical marijuana states.
Right.
So this is huge.
All the players are very important when they're serious about what they're doing,
Yep.
So that's a really good thing.
Yeah, working hard. Sometimes people, they ask me what the difference between ASA and MPP is, and I will often say, MPP does not really work at the local level. You know, I mentioned earlier we did the lowest law enforcement priority initiative in Santa Monica, but that was kind of a rarity. We don't often get really into the weeds of local policy, and that is important still.
Into the weeds, I just have to acknowledge that was a really good pun. Slipped right in there.
So, and I often will refer people to ASA for stuff like that. You know, ASA not only has local people on the ground, but just a lot of expertise in local policy. I see Don, you know, at all of the city council meetings.
Many hours in City Hall.
Oh yeah. So, and that's not MPP's area of expertise, and I will fully acknowledge that.
It's important in a movement for the people participating in the movement to know that there are solid organizations behind them, and absolutely here in Los Angeles, we see these faces all the time, showing up at protests and showing up at city council and really advocating, and it's been a great sense of pride and help to the operators
the
here,
support,
and the people that are, and the patients here in Los Angeles.
Yep. Yeah.
It's been pretty good.
And both of you have very responsible-looking faces. I think that's important.
No nose rings.
Yes, that's
I took mine out for the show.
Yeah. Both of you make good clips. You know what I'm
He's super
saying?
tatted up. But
Yeah.
He has a long sleeve shirt. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Um,
It is key though, actually.
It
you know,
really
I
is.
mean,
I'm absolutely serious.
I always tell people when we're doing our trainings that that's just one less hurdle to get over. You know, put on a nice shirt. And you have one less.
Meet us at City Hall on the steps, but smoke before you get there. You know? So,
Dress like a Republican.
those rules are really important.
They are.
It's
because
funny. They are important. They sound dumb, but you know, like your parents telling you dress nice. You know, make sure you well groomed. But it is important.
It is important.
It is very important.
It gives the other side fuel to throw at us if we look irresponsible.
Oh yeah.
Back in another life, I used to be an actor, and when I would go out on auditions, you quickly realize that the second you walk through the door, they've made up their mind, or at least 90% of what they're thinking about you is done. And that is the first impression you make. And I've always been a firm believer in what ASA and MPP have always told us when we go to advocate at City Hall or we're going to a protest. You know, don't wear the tie-dye. Leave it at home.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Actually, don't have any more tie-dye.
Wear it under your shirt.
Your underwear.
Like Superman stuff.
My underwear is always tie-dye.
I had to go to court once to fight a traffic violation, and my dad, I was like 16 years old. My dad made me get a haircut. My hair was all scraggly. I had to get a haircut and get a suit, and I went and showed up really ready to present, and the judge was blind.
Oh! That's good.
Yeah.
That's
That's why I dress like crap now.
Feel your presence.
Yeah.
And
Is that a suit? It smells like a suit.
You must be.
You know, yeah,
You smell
you're-
like a good-looking gentleman.
I wonder how you can make a good first impression with your voice. I know you can do it with your nose.
Yeah.
You know, you do have to shower.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure, just be eloquent and
Yeah, exactly.
I sounded like a guy in a suit.
It's interesting on this topic. I'm watching a movie. I haven't finished it. It's the ease of watching at home. You know, you can turn it off right in the middle. But it's called We're the Morgans. It just came out recently with Aniston and Jason Sudeikis. And basically, he's our age guy that's still selling herb and stuff like this, and he's got to smuggle this herb from Mexico into America, and he basically creates a family, goes and gets a haircut, buys really nice clothes, and a big motorhome rather than like a van that he's crossing with.
Yeah.
And they, obviously it's a comedy and blah, 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 much hijinks ensues. But that's how they decide to get through the border and the customs is to look like you're not the person they're supposed to be beating up and pulling over.
Speaking of sneaking in, Yami, you had asked me to talk about the Narco Cop conference that took place
last week. I mentioned that we were
exciting.
going to have a spy that went to the conference.
Well.
But unfortunately, tell us the story.
Yeah, okay, so last week the California Narcotics Officers Association and a whole bunch of basically prohibitionists got together to talk about how to combat the wave of marijuana legalization. And how to protect our communities.
Our children.
And our children.
Protect the children.
So, a lot of different marijuana reform activists tried to get in. They bought tickets. As far as I know, pretty much all of them got refunded immediately and sent some sort of a note saying you're not welcome to
Because
attend.
they were on a list of people who would be trying to do
They were
that.
Googleable, and they, were easily found out as reform advocates, and the narco cops didn't want them there. One of my colleagues purchased a ticket, one of my colleagues at MPP, and then MPP decided it just made more sense to send me because I'm local, and I would report back. So she just sent me her ticket. It didn't say non-transferable on it or anything like that. And she didn't get any email back or anything. So I figured, okay, somehow I'm flying under the radar screen. So I show up, and there's a bouncer at the door. You can't, the door is locked. You can't even go through the door until this bouncer opens it. So he opens the door, I hand him my ticket, and he's kind of looking it over. And then this other gentleman rushes up, grabs the ticket out of his hand, and starts interrogating me, essentially.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, and it quickly became apparent that my real name didn't match the name on the ticket, and I just made up some stupid story about why that was. Oh, she's my friend. She couldn't come. But the name on the...
I love these occasions.
Right. I love conferences. I just go to conferences a lot.
I'm into prohibition.
Yeah. I said I was a concerned community advocate.
This is true, yes.
But he just basically ended up telling me I wasn't welcome. All attendees were screened ahead of time, and I wasn't screened, so I wasn't welcome. So I didn't get in.
Did he give you back your money?
I don't know. MPP was kind of going to go back and forth with him about that. He told me that they were not going to refund the ticket, and I said, it doesn't say non-transferable on there, so you should. But he was, being bad cop.
So my understanding was that they had, all the legislators and prohibitionists were there, but also the media was there. And I've asked Don, I've asked Yami, I've asked everyone, and I've looked through the media. I don't see any reporting on what happened there.
That's for sure.
Not a lot. It got zero. It's like
Good
that
try,
many-
though. Okay.
Yeah.
So they have
I
people there
tried.
just screening for faces that they know are part of the movement?
They really didn't want any reformers there. I mean, I don't know if that's because they were having, real legislative strategy sessions, or they just didn't want to be embarrassed because they know that their argumentation is crap. Either way, they didn't
They're
want.
very paranoid about protesters, frankly.
Yeah.
Some of the materials they published in advance about there was a protest outside, about 80 people,
Right.
patients were out protesting.
Well, with the cops, there were 160 of us.
160 with the cops, right? So they published on their website, these people might be dangerous, be careful. Go to the other. And then
Pedophiles.
accused one man of being a pedophile, one of the organizers.
Right.
Just terrible stuff. And
Right.
so we've seen that before, but it's usually from the lunatic fringe. Not from the Californians for Drug Free.
Well, if you looked at some of their speakers, actually, it looked to me like they did have some of the lunatic fringe there.
Yeah, it sounds like the lunatic fringe.
The
Did
lady
everybody?
from Fresno.
Yeah. Did everybody going in have like an invisible asshole written on there that with special glasses
Pretty
you can
much.
see? Okay, that guy had
I know,
written on his
Actually,
head.
actually, talking
It's
marijuana
like-
was there, and they each got a little button saying "Dope of the Week." It was really good. No, I'm kidding.
We
They
stuck it
didn't do
into their
that.
bags, their goodie bags.
We have a few more minutes left. Let's go over our dopes of the week.
the dope of the
because,
week, yeah.
we have an exciting week. We
Dopes,
actually,
plural.
for the
Yeah,
first
for
time,
dopes of the
week,
for the first time, it was very hard to distinguish between the dopage that went on this week. And first, we come up. This is in Harlem. The headline is "Marijuana Found in Toddler's Daycare Bag in Harlem." A 3-year-old child showed up with 14 bags of
Dime bags,
marijuana. We don't know, dime bags, ounces, who knows where they were.
It's too much for a toddler.
Yeah.
Too much to carry, for sure, and she left her sandwich at home. So her bag was filled with 14 bags of marijuana, and they got to school. Somebody smelled it. They opened it up, and there's not a lot of details in this article.
The kid's bag or the mom's
No,
bag?
the little kid's backpack.
The kid's backpack. What had happened, it seems, is that the father's friend the night before had stuffed it in there and then forgotten to take it out. He obviously
It was stoned
Was-
out.
Well, because
Doing something
the
with
little
that, we
girl's
don't know what.
backpack was not in her bedroom, and he just stuck it in there and forgot to take it out. Okay.
Anyway, it screams
There's something fishy about this
screams
story.
dope
Yeah,
of the week
that-
for sure.
Yeah, that's.
I think everyone
the first
who
dope of
touches
the
that
week.
story is a dope of the week. Itself.
Definitely,
gosh.
definitely. So shame on those parents.
Life lesson,
There are
don't
there
hide
are
it
really
in the bag.
stupid people out there that do stupid things, and we will be the first
Yeah,
to
put
call
it
them
in
out
one
on that.
big bag and then stuff it in. Yummy.
Don't you know? You never want to get.
Well,
Is this friend of the father real? Is that real? There's a friend of the father? Do you think it's the parents?
The last
Oh my
last
God, who
line
knows?
said that there was a friend of the father.
Okay.
So
How
I
do you?
believe
I
I
everything
just
that I
dropped
read.
my kid off at school. If he had any weed in his backpack, I would have smelled it.
And you would
Yeah.
have taken
How
it.
do
You
you
don't
know?
always
Yeah.
have it with you. So.
14.
So this is a very serious.
that's
Yeah.
And then our
We have a second one though.
our
Okay.
runner-up. Oh, he's a bright guy.
Really
This
bright.
was in Long Island, and this guy was looking into a window of an old Toyota. And a couple of cops saw him looking in the window, and they came up and said, "Hey, what's up? What are you looking at?" He said, "It's my car. It's my car. I have registration for it. Why don't you come in my house, and I'll get the registration for you?" And he brought the cops in the house, where all of his marijuana was laid out. A scale was laid out.
Bags.
There was baggies laid out.
He's
and
a
that
dope.
guy is a dope in jail right now.
Oh.
We're sorry for you.
I
We don't mean to make
know.
fun of you, but
That's-
you do
No, he
Oh.
was
fall.
trying to do the
That's
right
like,
thing.
don't give
but-
me that parking ticket. I have a body in the trunk. Why would you up the ante of what you're getting?
And you know, on case listeners don't know, if you invite the police into your house, it's all fair game. Whatever
Yeah,
they see is
who-
admissible.
They're
What was he
vampires.
thinking?
They're like
What
vampires.
was
Exactly,
he
can't cross the
thinking?
threshold.
Yeah.
I would
Who in-
definitely call that guy a stoner.
Yeah.
And he was caught in the
Wow.
middle.
That
of
was
it.
a stoner move.
Stoner move.
Idiot.
Stoner
I
move.
actually have a sign up right by my front door that says that if the cops were to ever knock on the door, and this is for like if we're having a party, do not invite them in. Close the door, have them wait outside while you
Nice.
go find me.
That's good.
Fortunately, this has never had to be used, but I've been at a party when I just suddenly there was a cop walking through.
Right.
Yeah.
You're
And
like, what's up?
yeah, what's going on? Like, who let a cop in?
Yep.
Oh, well, they're
Good
people
advice.
too.
Good advice. Don't let the cops in your house unless
Unless they have a warrant.
unless they're there to help you, of course.
Yes.
Talk to
Yes,
them on the
That's what
porch.
their job
Yeah.
is.
Yep.
Serve and protect.
And what's wrong with looking in the back window of a?
Well, they thought
of
maybe
your
he was
truck?
gonna
Steal the
be
car.
scoping out the car. I think he
But then
looked a
how old
little.
is his Toyota? Because, like, you know.
The picture shows him wearing a sleeveless T-shirt, and you know those guys are always criminals.
No,
So
that's
they
the
were
way.
just
Yeah.
stopping him.
It's weird how
Dead giveaway.
sleeves are attached to brains.
It's that time. We'd like to thank you so much,
Thank
Sarah,
you,
for
Sarah.
coming
Thank
and
you.
hanging
Thanks for
out with
having
us
me.
here on Talking
Please
Marijuana.
come and visit
Anytime
us
anything's
again.
going on,
Thank you.
please use
Yes.
us as a forum and let us know. Come back and visit us. And,
Thank you.
Thanks for
Happy
showing
to
up
have
today, Dan.
Yeah.
So
Good.
glad, Dan, we missed you.
Yeah,
thank
thank
sorry,
you
I
all
was
for
having a
watching.
Congratulations.
Thank
Pura
you.
Oh,
vida.
and pura vida.
Oh, and pura vida.
You are listening to the John Lovitz Vodcast Network.
Upcoming shows to the John Lovitz Vodcast Network.
Welcome to FYI. It's Dimitri Young here with Robert Fick. Hey, everybody, welcome to Talking Marijuana.
Hi, everybody. Crabman's Rock and Roll Revival featuring Frazier Smith is on the air, in your hair, and going out everywhere around the world.
I'm Gary Garver, live from the John Lovitz Comedy Club.
This is the John Lovitz Vodcast Network.